And I wanted to start with a grounding practice as we normally do. The one today I'd like to do is where you put your right hand on your forehead, the left hand on the back where your neck meets the skull. And then you can have your eyes open or closed, whatever you feel comfortable with. And the grounding practice is to help us come into the space that we're in currently and letting go maybe of where we were and what we were doing previously. And just taking some breaths in and out. And seeing if you can relax your arms. You don't have to be pressing firmly into the head. Lightly is good. We can carry a lot of tension in the shoulders, so seeing if we can relax those and not having them crunched up to the ears. Sometimes easier said than done. And then letting go, letting the hands rest. You can have them in your lap or at your side, or if you're lying down, having them at a nice distance away from your body. And today we're going to do a meditation that I learned from Tammy Simon. She's the founder of Sounds True. The first time I did this was back in February at Wisdom 2.0 in San Francisco. I hadn't heard of this meditation before, so I'm going to be sharing that today. Just a little bit of background information on Tammy. She started Sounds True when she was 22 years of age. She quit Swarthmore College, and she wanted to do something meaningful for her that meant disseminating spiritual wisdom. So she started by sharing recordings of conferences or interviews on the Boulder County Public Radio years and years ago. So that was the beginnings of Sounds True, and I didn't actually know that until recently when I was looking it up for this talk. So I thought that was interesting. Sounds True has many vast offerings and many best-selling New York Times authors such as Eckhart Tolle, Pema Chodron, John Kabat-Zinn, Andrew Weil, Brene Brown. The list is endless. So they have lots of different offerings on Sounds True, and Tammy actually does a free podcast, Insights at the Edge, if anyone's interested in that, where she conducts interviews with leading teachers and luminaries and then shares them with the public. Okay, so enough of that, on with the meditation. So get into a comfortable position for you. As I mentioned, you can be lying down depending on the environment you're in, or seated, and checking in with the body, what would be best for you today. And there's no need to watch me if you have the screen on. Just listening to my voice. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. Depending on your surroundings, maybe you want to keep your eyes open, or maybe you're feeling sleepy. It's another good reason to have your eyes open. But if you do have the eyes open, make sure that they're, relaxed, and maybe having a soft gaze in front of you. Having that soft, blurred gaze so the eyes can relax. And then on an exhalation, sinking into the body, relaxing into the body, letting gravity take the body. And then an inhalation, having the balance of elongating, maybe envisioning a string at the top where the sutures meet, and pulling upward on the inhalation. Then on the exhalation, sinking down. And inhalation, lifting up, exhalation, sinking and resting. So you have that comfortable yet alert position. Maybe the chin is tucked in slightly. You want to try and see if the tension in our body will release, the knots being tied up, that constriction, like a ball of yarn that's tightly wound, can constrict blood flow, breath, energy. So when we're starting to relax, that can help to open up those channels to have things flow more naturally. But not forcing anything, just letting things be, naturally evolve as they do. And you might feel emotion come up during the practice. And welcoming that emotion as best you can and letting it move and flow through you. Letting it release. Maybe letting go of tiredness or sadness. Excuse me. Any emotion that may come up. We're going to start this practice that Tammy shared. And she's been at meditation retreats, studied internationally in India, Sri Lanka, Nepal. And she had mentioned that she thought this is one of the best meditations for us to do on a regular basis. So let's see what we think of that. No expectations. And we're going to start with the belly, and we're going to find the center point in the belly, finding the halfway point between the belly button and the pelvic floor, and then finding that spot in the middle of the body between the front and the back and the left and the right. And that would be the center point of the belly area. And then what we're going to do with that center point is imagine we have a balloon in the belly area. And from that center point, we're going to blow up the balloon in the belly. So it's expanding 360 degrees in the belly area. See if we can use the imagination to drop the awareness into that point and pretend that we're blowing up a balloon in the belly, in that cavity. And it's expanding and getting filled. And then on the exhalation, letting all of the air out of the balloon, and it shrivels and collapses. So inhaling, blowing up the belly in the balloon. Exhaling, letting it shrivel up. And doing that again. Inhaling and activating the fullness of the breath in the belly center. And seeing if the entire mind can be in the center of the belly. That's the focal point and where the awareness is. So that the only thing happening is blowing up the belly balloon, and then the balloon shriveling up. So just a couple more breaths of blowing up the belly balloon, the front, back, left, right, top and bottom. Expanding that whole area as best we can without forcing. And letting go of that, and now focusing on expanding and blowing up the belly balloon to the left side of the body. And maybe, if you want, placing your hand on the left side. Seeing when you're blowing up that belly balloon and expanding it from the center to the left. Maybe having that hand on the left side will help with that. Again, on the inhalation, blowing up that belly balloon to the left side. On the exhalation, the balloon collapses. And letting go of the left side of the body. And now blowing the balloon up to the right side. And not having expectations of one side to the next. Just going with the experience that is. Maybe the belly balloon on the right side is a different shape and size, and that's okay. The balloon, as it's expanding, may even, depending on your experience expand outside of the body, go beyond the skin. And letting go of the right side. And now imagining blowing up the balloon from that center point, midway between the belly and the pelvic floor, front, back, and left, right, expanding to the lower part of the belly, as far down to the pelvic floor and maybe beyond to the top of the legs. There's a lot of stale energy that can get stored in the belly. By doing this, you can maybe move some of that out. Inhaling, blowing up that belly balloon to the lower part of the pelvic floor. Exhaling, letting the balloon shrivel and collapse, opening space. Now breathing in and blowing up the balloon to the top part of the belly. From the center point, expanding that balloon. Maybe feeling into the lower part of the rib cage even, as that balloon is expanding. And not forcing anything, just noticing the sensation in your body, with the imagery of the balloon and the air expanding in the belly to the top. Letting go of that and expanding to the back side of the belly. Blowing up the balloon from the center point identified, expanding to the back and maybe beyond. Maybe into the floor or chair, depending on what's behind your lower pelvic area. And lastly, expanding the belly to the balloon to the front of the belly. And this may be more natural for you, maybe not. So blowing up that belly balloon to the front. And feeling it expanding out. And then collapsing on the exhalation, opening up space. Now, let's go back to the exercise we did when we first started, and having that balloon and blowing it up in all directions, 360 degrees in that belly area. Imagine it expanding out in all the 6 directions. And then collapsing on the exhalation. Maybe noticing if there's a difference in the balloon size and shape from the beginning. Not judging, just noticing. And we're going to let that go now and imagine inhaling up through the feet, up the legs, and filling up the belly. And on an exhalation, relaxing the body. So again, on the inhalation, feeling energy and breath come in up through the ground, through the feet, through the legs, and expanding the belly. And exhaling, relaxing. And one more time. Letting go of that and breathing normally for a couple breaths. Maybe noticing any sensations in the body. Now we're going to move into the heart center. Locating the center, in the middle of the breastbone, halfway between the left and the right and the front and back of the body. Sensing into that center of the heart. Feeling the cavity of the heart. And then expanding and blowing up the balloon in the heart area. And this is a different space than the belly. So the balloon filling up all around in this area may feel different. Trying not to force the space that you had in the belly, in the heart area. And then letting go of the all directions and expanding the balloon to the left side. On the inhalation, breathing in and blowing up the balloon on the left side of the heart. Letting go of the left side and expanding the balloon from the center of the heart cavity to the right side. On the inhalation, blowing up the balloon. On the exhalation, the balloon collapsing and shriveling. Now expanding to the bottom of the heart center, maybe feeling it down to the top of the belly button. And again, not forcing it, letting the balloon expand naturally as it does within your body. Letting go of that and having the balloon expand to the top part of the heart cavity. Maybe noticing it up towards the shoulders. Now moving into the back side of the heart, expanding the balloon to the back side. This may be tighter on some, as we may protect ourselves and have sort of wall set up there. Again, not judging ourselves, just noticing and expanding the balloon from the heart center to as far in the back part of the body that you can. Letting go of the back side and now opening the balloon to the front side of the heart cavity. Now filling the balloon in all directions, in all 6 directions in the heart cavity. Seeing if that feels different from the first time you were breathing into the heart cavity. And letting that go, and now imagining air coming up on your long, big, full body inhalations up through the feet, through the legs. expanding the belly cavity, up the torso, and expanding the heart cavity. And on the exhalation, relaxing into the chair or the ground. And doing that again for a few breaths, bringing the inhalation up through the feet, legs, expanding through that belly area, up the torso, and expanding the heart cavity, the heart space. And the exhalation, relaxing. And letting go of that and breathing normally for a few breaths, sensing into the body. Now moving into the last center, the head. And finding the center part of the head between the ears, the left, right side of the head, front and back. And during this, if you get any dizzy feelings, please stop the exercise and just pay attention to your breath, letting go of the imagery of the balloon. But breathing in now, imagining that balloon in the head center and blowing up that balloon from the middle of the head and expanding it out in all directions. Top, bottom, left, right, front and back. Expanding that balloon in all directions on the inhalation. And on the exhalation, letting the balloon collapse. And we won't do it as long in the head area as the other areas, will be shorter. Moving into the left side of the body, of the head, blowing up the balloon from the center of the head, expanding out to the left side. Now moving to the right side, blowing up the balloon and having the balloon expanding to the right side of the head. Now to the bottom. And maybe you'll notice the expansion down towards the neck. Now to the top, blowing the balloon up from the center of the head to the top of the head and maybe expanding out of the top of the head. Again, not forcing anything. Being aware of what's available and present to you in this moment. Now blowing up the balloon to the back side of the head. Again, maybe it goes beyond the skull and the skin. And now the front side. And now filling the balloon in the head in all 6 directions. And maybe noticing if there was a difference from when we did this a few minutes ago. And letting that go. Now imagining the breath coming up again through the feet, and this time up the legs, filling up the belly cavity, up the torso, filling up the heart center, up the neck, and filling up the head center. And on the exhalation, relaxing, dropping into the chair or the ground. And doing that again, long, big, full body inhalation from the feet up to the head. Now letting go of the exercise and breathing normally. Sensing into the body, or we notice anything in the body. And then coming back into the room, wiggling the toes and wiggling the fingers. And if you had the eyes closed, slowly opening them. And if you're lying down or even seated, making sure to take your time getting up and moving. This may have been a deep meditation for some, and maybe you won't even notice until you start to move. Thank you for joining me today. And thank yourself again for taking time for some self-care. As I usually say, you can't take care of others if you're not setting aside time to take care of yourself. So thank you for doing that. And may your mind be at peace. May your words come from a place of love. And may your heart be filled with joy. Thank you for joining me today.